Transformation in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in. If you're new here, hi. If you're a returning gazer, how you guys doing? Glad you're here, all of you. I did this spread for myself last night, and it was intense. You know, it really, whew, opened up, and so like opened up a can of worms, but it was more like a lotus. Like there was a lot of mud around, and it opened up that flower. So I thought, oh, this would be interesting to do for the collective. So what we're doing is we've got the wild harmonic. We're going to pull some of these. We're going to clarify them with the raven cards, right? We'll get a little bit of advice from the Love Who You Are cards, and then we will pull it all together with the Rave I Ching. I did do some clarifiers in the spread with the tea leaf oracle. And we could pull some tarot at the end to clarify. So let's just take a deep breath. Like this again. Ancestors, spirits, guides, what messages do you have for the collective, for the people watching now and in the future? Ooh, what do we need to know? What is your message for us today? Ooh, we're getting the shadow of the shadow. Self-destruction. We have to think about this. We have to think about this. This looks like the Viking arm ring, doesn't it? It's about honor, the Viking arm ring. This is about the shadow of the shadow. You know, we talk about the shadow side of things. What's the shadow of that? And it's often to our detriment. Ooh, that's where we're coming from. It's like, it feels like this fighting of the self. Ancestors, spirits, guides, what else? Dimensional shadow. Perfect circle. Oh, one of my favorite bands, by the way. The dimension of the shadow. How things are sectioned off. I heard carpal tunnel. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Maybe you guys are wrestling with that right now. Oh, spirit of air, the immune system. Building up an immunity when we start to see the cycles of things, right? The perfect circle. We start with this circle that isn't connected. We're going to dig into these, but this is what's coming out right off the bat. Can we have one more, please? Where is this leading? Self-destruction, perfect circle, immune system. Shadow guardian. Ooh, so it's like you're being watched over during this time. Look at the luminousness of this card. The way that the light is shining on it, right? Very, very beautiful. The shadow guardian. It's almost like while you're going through these things, almost like while maybe like purging those things from the self that we know are to our detriment, that we know aren't good for us, right? Whether that be things that are within our own making or not, how we're handling things, right, is all our choice. On the bottom, ooh, us and them. This is about divisiveness. This is about splitting of ways. What's causing divisiveness in your life or in your system, right? Whether that be your mental system, your emotional system, your physical system, or your spiritual system, your belief system, right? Your system of organization, whatever it might be. And again, this like compartmentalizing, and I heard carpal tunnel. So maybe it's like this like overexertion, right, of the manual needs of the thing, like what it takes to actually get the job done, the function of the thing finished, right, worked through, and how does that cause like long-term wear and tear, right? Let's get the book out. If you guys like this, let me know. If you don't, let me know that too, kindly, of course. But I feel like this is probably might have some buttons. You know, we all have our buttons. Shadow of the shadow. Shadow of the shadow. As the denial meets itself, the struggle threatens to tear itself apart. turning on oneself and aiming to sabotage our best interests. This card indicates patterns that have turned toxic, which were woven into us from traumatic life initiations that remain unsolved. While there is much that may need to be done to bring light to these patterns, compassionate self-honesty and naming them is always the first and essential step. This darkest of shadows has a way of creeping up on me, working its way into my life in ways that aim to bring my downfall. Often, when I first see this, I am irrationally conditioned to defend it. Everything has an immune system, even shadows. Becoming one who can sit in a shadow and still bring in light, even if it's just a spark, is a means of remedy. Inquiry: how am I causing myself needless suffering and or failure? Oof. Told you guys this one was going to get deep. Interesting too, because he talks about the immune system of the shadow. Even the shadow has its own immune system to protect itself from the light, right? And here's that immune system here. So that's intense already. Let's look at the dimensional shadow of the perfect circle. As the dimensional expanse falls into denial, the need to defend oneself keeps out the light. Wow, we just said that. And again, with this denial, what is it that we're denying, right? It could be denying a truth, and it's also, in a sense, denying ourselves favor, remedy, compensation, truth, healing, forgiveness, right? When we deny the things that maybe are toxic or behaviors and things like that, right? The shadow, it immunes itself by telling us that we need it for our own defense, right? Often acquired in a traumatic situation or a time of trauma. And then when we get out of that space and we continue to behave in these ways, act in these ways, respond in these ways, this can be very toxic to us, right? The need to defend oneself keeps out the light. Here it is. The shadow and the light. All right. The power of logic is used to deny that which it cannot perceive, and the ability of circular thinking to generate a powerful impulse to believe. This card warns the mind's ability to generate ideas that prove each other, thereby generating an intense sense of certainty and fooling, even trapping one into their self-reflective misery of justification. Ideas certainly have their way with me, and while I like to think I have a clear mind, it is often apparent that I have decided something is in fact purely based on other ideas that say it is so. When these ideas get together, they have a way of taking me over and compelling me into disintegrating behavior. How is logic and how things are getting in the way of my creation? And that self-destructive idea of this is a defense mechanism, this is good for me, right? When even though if you take a step back and look at the patterns caused by this behavior, and whatever it is for you, it's going to be individual for each of us, right? These are our shadows. Our shadows are the shape of ourselves, and it's individual to each of us. So take it how it resonates, right? But the way things are, how is the logic of these things, these self-destructive things, these self-defense mechanisms, right, keep us from receiving the light, keep us from being out in the world, getting in our own way, right? The disintegration, and there's a hyphen there, meaning not necessarily as much meaning to fall apart, but as to inhibit the coming together, the integration, right? The balance of the ideas. Well, here we have the immune system. And don't worry, we're going to pull clarifiers. We're going to dig into these. We're just reading them all so that we know what page we're on, what Spirit's trying to say, right? The immune system, the spirit of air. Now, their immune system, it feels very elusive, doesn't it? Almost like it's hiding from us. And the air is the thought realm. Whew, as the spirit of creativity embodies into the interconnected intelligence, the power of protective choice comes forth. Protective energies, consciously changing patterns, rewiring creativity, and being direct with oneself. This card is both the presence of guardian energies and the decision to adjust our own guardians in order to find new creative results. I'm going to read that one more time. This card is both the presence of guardian energies and the decision to adjust our own old guardians in order to find new creative results. Normally, at play in secret, the creative immune system becomes starkly obvious the moment I attempt to create beyond my own current patterns. Such attempts may trigger suffering, the opposite of my desires coming to be. Yet, if I make a direct communication through resonance, my guardians will adjust in order to allow these new paths to open. Am I being clear to myself about what I prefer and willing to become the one that can receive it? And again, like, are you clear on what it is that you want? 1212. No, I've probably fast forwarded through some of this looking in the book. Listen, the perfect circle and the coming around and the acknowledgement, right? This talks about like the denial. First things first, what is it that we're denying, right? And having an open conversation with ourselves, our spirit guides, and the present moment, because we aren't talking to the past and we aren't talking to the future. We're talking about right now, where we are right now. And where are those blockages in creativity because we're put up defenses that say this is how things are, this is how it has to be, right? And shadow boxing ourselves into self-destruction when the immunity for it is right here, just being clear. And being willing to become the person open to receive it. And that's what this has been a huge theme this entire week. Changing that perception. You are worthy to receive. You are capable to do. And you are filled with the divine. So that is the shadow's biggest fear. Fear of success, fear of acknowledgement, fear of worthiness. Because what happens then? We're going to move on to the earth of water, the shadow guardian. Each has its own guardian. This card is the guardian, the combination of the guardians, right? And the energies needed to adjust. There's definitely an adjustment that needs to be made. We'll dig into that for sure. Let's find out what the guardians are doing for us. Yeah, even see, and this is part of this deck is amazing, but the way that it leads you into it is very confusing and difficult to locate things. And I think that might be part of this game that we're playing here, right? The shadow of the shadow and elusive things and being in a space where we can't see what's going on, this continuous pattern, right? This pattern, this book, the way that it's arranged, this is how it's arranged. And I can't like take it apart and put it back together to make it a more user-friendly medium. So I have to use what I have. And if I say, well, we're not going to do these readings because with this deck, because this book is difficult to navigate, then we're missing a lot of really important messages that are being presented in this text. And so I just want to bring that to the fold because I feel like it's a really important part of this, like taking the time to really get into the thing, maybe taking the time in between the cards to meditate or consider what has been said, however it resonates for you. But they're very powerful messages. Here is that guardian, right? And again with that light, and see how the light has changed. Let's get it back in the light there. See how it glows when the sun is on it? It's beautiful. Whew. As the earth energies ascend into the flowing feeling of life, they reveal the hidden depths that pull one down until we respond with inquiry. And again, asking the right questions, right? Rising in the face of life's challenges and the deep enigmas of the unknown, unfolding the self. This card is about changing my perspectives about life's problems from that of a victim to that of an inquirer. It is not as simple as the all clouds have silver linings. Rather, it is taking responsibility for perceptive and choice to see what life is asking of me. For some deeper plane of creation, I have set my life down this path, and upon it placed these stumbling blocks. Each barrier I face is protecting some hidden treasure behind it. The barriers will stand until I become that which can cross them. I must transform myself into that which can transcend the intimidation of fear, to reach the gift that waits beyond victimhood. Inquiry. What are the problems of my life coaxing me to become? Whew. That's what all this is about, isn't it? That self-destructive shadow. Because, all of the things that we could be faced with, all the trials and tribulations and lessons in life and things that are thrown our way, it's up to us how we respond to them, and we're going to get different lessons according to different responses and different times, right? We might be repeating the same thing over and over and over because we've told ourselves that this is the best way to relieve ourselves from this. And this is saying that the reason that we're not getting, you're not getting, I'm not getting, we're not getting as a collective to the places that we need to be is because we've told ourselves that the mechanisms that we've created are, through trauma as self-defense are actually self-destructive in the long term. And when we're out of those defensive mechanisms, and this, I'm hearing reaction versus response. Shadow of shadows, self-destruction, ancestor spirits, guides. Taste the frontier. Wander along the boundary fence and feel its special energy. When you have had enough, just go back. It's about taking that time, the shadow energy, right? Approaching the fence. And this is how this kind of feels, that fence. Is it defense? Is it offense? Is it just a fence? Right. Wander along the boundary. So, it like we often think of boundaries as like the stopping point, but they're really a perimeter, aren't they? That encompass and encircle something. Walk around that. Take a look around that, wander it, and feel its special energy. What is it doing? It's protecting. It's creating a divisive boundary. We didn't read this one, but this is about divisiveness and the things that separate. It's pretty obvious by looking at that, right? And some of those divisivenesses can cause those separations. Here, walk along that boundary, walk along that fence, and when you've had enough, take a step back. Because forcing ourselves to go too far, to do too much, to eat too much, right? It's going to take away the benefit of the grandeur of the thing. So, small bites, baby steps, right? Awkward, stumbling baby steps. Taste the frontier. And when you've had enough, take a break, step away from it, right? Because this perfect circle, undulations, these kinds of things, if you ever go online, find a GIF of these types of spinners, right? And as they spin, sometimes you'll get all black, sometimes you'll get all white, sometimes you will get a pattern that shows in the spinning at the speed of it. It really changes what it looks like, and those boundaries, those perimeters that we've created start to dissipate a bit or overcome the other sides, right? When I see 2020, ancestors, spirits, guides, the perfect circle. Wow. See, this one wanted to jump out, and it says, something dead can become food for others. The cut corn, the slaughtered beast. Respect what has died and help it transform by ingesting it with awareness and thanks. Let the wheel of life keep turning. That is so beautiful. Respect what has died and help transform it by ingesting it with awareness and thanks. And this says, after the great flood, the raven was the first to find land to live on, safe and fruitful earth. Fly off and seek your land, safe ground, fertile soil. That perfect circle. And again, like, now that we've ingested these things, right? One of my favorite sustainable authors of sustainability, John Seymour, wrote, like, the quickest way to compost something is to shove it through the guts of an animal, which obviously means poop, right? Like horse poop, goat poop, chicken poop, whatever it is, using that as a fertilizer, right? Ingest it with thanks and awareness. And again, that's that walking along the perimeter, checking it out, observing things, right? And then what's also interesting is these are up and down. So there's this pyramid shape here. There's an hourglass. She's very toroidal, isn't it? Okay. Now we're going to talk about that immune system, that immunity. Ooh. Even the shadow has an immune system. So does the light. Okay. Ooh, I heard permeate the boundary. Ancestors, spirits, guides, talk about this immune system, spirit of air. Respect your fear. By respecting it, you allow it to show its true expression, and you can find yourself a new, more loving path to yourself. Look at that. Respect your fear. Damn. The fear is here to teach you something. And by respecting it, right, walking around that perimeter of the shadow, observing it, right, ingesting it with awareness and thanks so that it can become the fruit, right? It can become the ground that produces new fruit. And then, again, there's this idea of being afraid to take flight, being afraid to go there, right? Because the shadow tells you that it's the protective force, right? So, and that's again with this, when you've had enough, just go back, right? What is it when you're stretching in the yoga? If there's pain, that's, like, give it a little relief there. Take a moment, stop for a second. Don't push it. If we push too hard, too fast, it's going to cause injury, right? So you want to take your time with those spaces and places within yourself and let that be like a slow stretch, but you still got to do it. You can't think that that ache or that pain is going to go away by doing nothing. It has to be addressed in a slow and steady fashion, right? And with a respect of what it is, because again, like, if moving too quickly can cause damage, and there's that self-destruction again. So always coming back to that idea of what am I doing? Asking the right questions. How can I become the person, the entity, the mindset, the perspective that's ready to receive the things that are guiding me to my destiny? That's what you're asking yourself. How can you address those things within yourself to become that ready to receive, right? Vessel. Ooh, I heard vessel. Well, the vessel is full of yucky water. You got to dump it out, clean it out, and then it'll be ready for the new. Ooh, without contamination. That's part of this immune system stuff here. Shadow guardian. Shadow guardian. When you fly, take your heart with you. And when it feels too tired, let it refresh itself. Don't fly without your heart. For without it, you'll never get anywhere. But with it, you will always arrive wherever you are, whatever you do. There's your immune system. It's like dropping that seed, right? And again, that idea of when you're tired, when your heart is tired, let it refresh itself, right? And don't ever go anywhere without it. That's your immunity. Your loving grace, your loving compassion, your forgiveness of yourself and your misunderstandings, right? Wow. The greatest way to defeat the shadow is to forgive it. Thank you, Spirit. Damn, that's intense. Don't ever fly. Don't go anywhere in a heartless situation. Don't approach things without that heart space. And that could be, take it as it resonates, but that logic, right? Talking about logic. The first section of cards, this harmonic deck, and a lot about logic in that whole deck. And this one is like, the ravens are like, but don't forget your heart. Don't forget about your feelings. That's your immunity. That's your immunity to overcoming the shadow. Ooh. Talk to us about taste the frontier, wander the boundary of the fence, the self-destruction. Love who you are. Look at that. And all of your brightness and all of your darkness, that is that integration of the light and the shadow and the transformation of the self. You know, when we're the caterpillar, we're the naive child and everything looks so bright and fresh and yummy and we're vivacious and hungry, hungry, hungry. Just eating and eating and eating and crawling around, but not really aware of how big the surroundings actually are. Right? Then we go into this chrysalis state, the shadow state, where suddenly we can't see the light and we're all goo and everything gets taken apart. Right? The boundaries of that. That's like the exoskeleton that is the cocoon. And when we go in there and we become the mush, right? We see something different. The special energy that it is, that allows it to unfold, and we emerge as these butterflies with our wings. Your wings are there. How beautiful is that? And now you can take flight like the raven, like the butterfly. Completely transformed. But it took a lot of taking breaks. Could just rush into it. You couldn't come out of that cocoon while you were still mush. And you couldn't fly while you were a caterpillar. See what I'm saying? Everything in its own time. Love every aspect of every part of that process, bringing you who you are. The perfect circle. Ooh. Respect what has passed and help it transform by ingesting it. Let the wheel of life keep turning with awareness and thanks. Fly off and seek your land. Safe ground and fertile soil. I love it when we're getting this flying creature. Look, sing your own song and tend to the fragile. Delicate procedures, delicate spaces. And there's a lot to do here about, what's coming up on this true expression here. And then this is talking about singing your own song in that perfect circle, like tending to the small things, going in, looking at those things, examining them, right? And then coming out, and again, that expression, talking to yourself, the communication, naming it. You got to name it to tame it, don't you? Absolutely, right? And so that's that, where am I now? Who am I now? Right now. Express that to yourself, right? So that you can ingest it with awareness and say thanks and feed it back into that circle, right? That perfect circle of life and shadow. It's breathing, it's oscillating, it's undulating, it's rhythmic. It's supposed to be that way, all right? Tend the fragile. I heard soft hands, like catching an egg, like soft hands, like you don't want to receive it. Oh, good. Like when you pick up a little baby and they're all wiggly and you kind of got to you don't want to squish them, you want to oh, okay. And let them kind of wiggle, and very, very gently support that. Respect your fear. Here's the immune system. By respecting it, you allow it to show its true expression, and you can find a new, more loving path to yourself. Unfold your own myth. How cool is that? Look at these together. The layers. Unfolding your own myth by respecting your fear and not being in denial of it, right? Allowing, oh, these are the things that I needed to learn. Oh, this is why I'm defending myself in that way. Oh, that's why I'm feeling like this. Oh, that's where I need a hug. Right. That's okay. It's beautiful. The unfolding of the self, the nautilus and the spiral that it is, right? My right brain friends, it's thinking in the spiral, non-linear, Absolutely. And it's unfolding the myth. Again, those stories that we've told ourselves, self-protection, right? That turned into self-destruction. Those myths. Being honest with that. Shadow guardian, when you fly, take your heart with you. When it's tired, let it refresh itself. Do not fly without your heart, for without it, you'll never get anywhere. But with it, you will always arrive wherever you are, whatever you do. Celebrate. Wear your party hat. Wear your party hat, right? Take your heart with you. And that's your joyful expression, your joyful experience, your curiosity, and your ability to celebrate yourself. It's at 20 or 32:23. The timing's probably going to be off on these. That's about that, the shadow guardian, the celebration. And again, this idea of like covering the crown. And there's the train covering the crown chakra. Because we can't allow our, of course, there's that space where we're connected to spirit, right? But we can't allow our minds to overrule our heart. We have to, again, take our heart with us wherever we go. And on the bottom, look at that, protect your boundaries. The whole space, walking the perimeter of the boundaries. Being mindful of where those boundaries are, being mindful of where you are within those spaces, and knowing that that's, part of the divisiveness. And adjusting, sometimes we have to adjust the boundaries inward, and sometimes we have to adjust the boundaries outward. And like, here's this instructions on this deck. Haphazard. Let's read it. It says, the idea behind this patternless pattern is that everything has emerged from a state of chaos, from a primordial soup. As the book of Genesis puts it, now the earth was formless and empty. This soup carries within it all possibilities, all potential. This is when the raven and its creative talents comes into its own. The preparation of cards is predictably simple. Place the cards face down on the table or on the ground, in a cauldron if you like, and mix them up using both hands to complete muddle. And then go fishing in your primordial soup for the card you need just now. Mixing up those, you know what I'm saying? Like those patterns that were created. And it's just interesting because this whole deck here is like this perfectly square, perfectly aligned, rows and forms. This is how it's got to be. And you know what? No, you just go ahead and stir that in and you make some soup. Ooh. Let it be what it is. After the Great Flood, the raven was first to land on land to live on. Safe, fruitful earth. Fly off and seek your land. Safe ground and fertile soil. But take your heart with you. I want some tarot. I can hear you guys. Let's talk about this. I'm taking this one out too. Let's talk about this, the shadow of shadow, self-destruction. I think we're starting to really understand what that is. Just seeing taste the frontier and love who you are. Can you give us one tarot? King of Cups in the reverse. Listen, this isn't about this getting sunk into our souls, being emotionally manipulated, emotionally manipulating others, allowing our emotions to take over, right? Because maybe this is what we need to protect ourselves from. Maybe this is what we've built this defense up around. This type of personality, people who take masterful actions in the emotional sense to control and manipulate the situations around them. Male or female, it doesn't matter. The masculine energy is action taken in its shadow form. Its emotional shadow form. Right. And that's why it's saying love who you are. Don't let someone else's perceptions, jaded, self-destructive, angry perceptions of life in general, right, affect or coerce your belief systems about yourself and what is possible for you. Okay? Love who you are. That's the beginning. That's the beginning. All right, the perfect circle. Sing your own song, tend the fragile with awakeness and kindness. Wow, you guys. The Empress in the reverse. And again, that perfect circle. Not having the abundance, not being able to create, not being able to birth the new into the world, not having the patience for it. We have to go through these spaces and times where we realize that it's not always the time to produce. Sometimes it's the time to put to rest. Right? Those tending those fragile things. And because look, it's just interesting because when you get the card about birth in the reverse, and then you get the card about when something has passed and the wheel, and then it's this perfect circle, this death and rebirth process. And it's letting you know that it's perfectly fine to be in a state or a place of passing, letting things pass through, letting things go, not producing things. Sometimes that's the point where we're at, and it's because it's very productive. If we don't allow those things to occur, our soil will be fallow. Think of the Dust Bowl. Think of all of those times that they ripped all the topsoil off and monocropped for years and years until there was nothing left to hold the earth to itself, and the big winds came through and blew it all away. Right? We have to let those things decay and become part of the system that things are growing from. Right? That fertile soil. We have to try various things, right? Plant different stuff. This is something John Seymour also taught me, that sustainable farmer, that you have to turn your crops. So growing potatoes here one year, and then growing corn here the next year, and then growing beans here, and then we alternate which field we grow each of those things in, so they give back to the earth as they're taking things out. And I think that's where we're at right now, with love and awareness, with gratitude and awareness, right? Otherwise we get caught up in our head again. This is talking about it's just too heady. It's too heady, man. You get in that feeling space, you're going to get couch locked, right? Like, it's just stoner lingo for you, because it's kind of how it's feeling. It's feeling like this, like, stuck. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's your perception of how it's being viewed, right? You're not stuck in the cocoon. You're metamorphosing. Respect your fear. Is it your fear that's keeping you there, right? Respect your fear. Unfolding your own myth, the stories that we told ourselves. This is the immune system. Guys, this deck is mixed. Letting go of things that don't work, and not trying to push them till they do. Right? It's becoming revealed, and like, not like the High Priestess is things that are hidden, right? Things that are unknown. She knows things, but this is like trade secrets here. If this was upright like this would be trade secrets. But in the reverse, it's like letting go of those things, right? The fear of unknowing, the fear of not being able to accomplish, right? The unfolding your own myth is the respecting of that and allowing it to show you your true expression so that you can love yourself more. And the truth of it is that you don't want to work on these things. You don't want to put forth an effort to replicate the things that cause self-destruction. Oh, letting that myth unfold within you, because those things aren't bringing you your desires. They're not creating the person who is capable of receiving. Shadow Guardian, wear your party hat. Don't fly without your heart. Knight of Cups. Look, the Knight of Cups in reverse. All these cards coming out in the reverse. And I even checked the deck because I was like, wait a minute, that's a lot. Like, all in the reverse. And on the bottom in the upright is strength. Absolutely. Again, with this, leaving your heart behind. Do not leave your heart behind, Knight of Cups, because you aren't going to get very far without it. You're not going to get anywhere without it. Focus on that. When you fly, take your heart with you, because that is your strength. And I'll just show you guys, like, this is a mixed deck. Right? Graceful strength. The strength is returned by protecting your boundaries. That's almost like the shadow wants you to build up your muscles to fight against something, when the true immunity is in the relaxation of those overworked muscles, you know, that like pain that it's causing us inside, the pain that it's causing you inside, let that go and just breathe, get back into that heart space, and the strength is returned. All right, human design system. Do this, and then we'll close up. That's 2. Okay. Wow, the power of taming the great and retreat. What? The power of the power of the great, the maximization of power of memory applied to the nurturing of continuity, the strength and will to support the tribe. Line 6, authority. Line 5, adaptability. Line 4, censorship. Line 3, influence. Line 2, lessons of history. Line 1, a bird in the hand. Wow, the egoist. Fools and liars are prophets too. The things that we've learned, the fools and liars are prophets too. Self-destruction, right? Those things that we've told ourselves that were supposed to be self-protective but turned into self-destructive. Right, the authority. What has power over us? What has power over you? There's the King of Cups energy in the reverse. Letting that go, that authority that's telling us you have to feel some way. Adaptability, love who you are. And again, that metamorphosis, that chrysalis state, that transfiguration into something beautiful, something bigger, because you were able to adapt to what was needed, not what you were told was needed, right? Censorship, what you let in and don't. What has been provided to you, the information that has been provided to you, and what hasn't, what has been kept, and what do you need to see on your own terms, with your own eyes, right? And then the influence, how does that influence you? How does that shape your thoughts? And again, that self-destructive, because it's hiding as self-protection. It's disguised and camouflaged itself as self-protection, when really it's gatekeeping you and keeping you from being able to receive, right? The lessons of history, you see these patterns. You've learned these things. It happens over and over and over. Maybe it didn't just happen to us. Maybe it happened to others. Can you see it happening? A bird in the hand. What is it that you have available to you? A bird in the hand. That's what we're talking about, the now. And right now, the gifts bestowed upon you in this moment, right? And the egoist, fools and liars are prophets too. Again, that pattern that we see, those things that they told us, those things that we learned, right? We're prophetic. Learn from that. What have we seen? What comes across? Wow, the power of taming the great. Damn, that's strong. I'll put that up for you. You can screenshot that if you need to. Retreat. And that's what I'm saying again. Respect your fear, right? When you've had enough, just go back. Take the moment. Again, we're not pushing ourselves too hard or too far in ways that we shouldn't, right? Respect your fear. It says active withdrawal and the transformation of a weak position into a strength. Wisdom and experience is shared through the voice of remembrance. The true expression, respecting your fear and allowing it to express itself, its true expression. Right. Line 6, disassociation. The denial that this all starts with, right? Timing. When we're ready to receive, when we need to receive. And again, right now, right? Dignity. Damn. Because the self-destructive behaviors tell us that we're doing that to save our dignity, to keep our self-respect, to keep from being humiliated, when really they're keeping us in a space that is kind of humiliating because it's robbing us of our dignity, of our freedom, of exploring the next thing, right? Of getting out of that emotional space. Surrender. This is part of again, the ebb and flow, the oscillations, the like the fan, right? It's just the way that the way that the universe works. Surrender to that, and avoidance. What is it that we're avoiding? What is it that we're avoiding? It caused these fences in the first place. What maybe we're avoiding looking at: privacy, the revelation of secrets. High Priestess in the reverse and the unfolding. Look. The egoist, fools and liars are prophets too. The privacy, the revelation of secrets. Be aware of who and what you're sharing. Like, we're allowing these fears to express themselves to us, to you, to self-examine, right? We're not going to share these things with people who have historically proven that they are liars and ego-driven, that they're manipulators. We're not going to do that, right? But we're also not going to let them steal our heart and soul. Because that is what's giving us strength, and not just us, but everyone around us, right? And it could be this like chaotic primordial soup, right? That breaking up that pattern, because it's not helpful. It's not helpful. It's actually the opposite of helpful. It's divisive, keeping you divided from that which you are meant to receive, right? Wow. Is that it, Spirit? I hope that was helpful. I hope that you guys got something out of it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for remembering to hit like and subscribe. And thanks for coming back and seeing us again next time. Bye.
Transformation in 3, 2, 1.